Hello YouTubers, and welcome to another video. Today's video is about my 1995 C4 Corvette. I needed to replace the window regulator in the passenger side door. That's what I initially thought, and I had ordered the part because anytime I've ever had a problem with window regulators, it's been the regulator needs to be replaced, and as far as I understood, it wasn't really possible to change just the motor on this. And by the way the window broke, it looked like it was the mechanism itself, because the window was teetering back and forth. It would actually go up and down, but it was teetering back and forth like some part of the mechanism had snapped. So I would later find out that there is a plastic little guide on the front of the window that attaches to a bar that goes up and down the entire length of the door. That was the real problem. However, I didn't have as much knowledge into that, so I figured it was the window regulator. I took the car apart, the door apart, and pulled out the regulator, but not before I caused some damage to the this strip, the fur strip that runs along the top of the window that attaches to the door, because I was trying to bring the window regulator out through the top like you do on normal cars, but that's not the way it came out. I had looked on YouTube. I really didn't see any videos that were really helpful to me, so I made a couple of mistakes getting the window regulator out. And once I did get the window regulator out, then it became obvious by the broken parts laying in the bottom of the door that the real problem was this plastic piece on the front end. But it was too late. I had the new regulator. I didn't feel like trying to send it back. I'm like, you know, this is a 25-year-old car or whatever it is, and you know, it's probably going to go anyway, so what the hell, we'll just stay with it. And then I had to order the plastic piece that was actually broken. It doesn't come in with the window regulator, so I got that separately. Of course, I had to wait for it to come in the mail and whatnot, and during that time somehow I lost the video of me taking the car apart. What I do have is me putting the car back together, the door back together. So that's what we're going to go over. What I had to do to make this work. So I hope you, if you're in the same position as I am, you'll learn something, and you'll learn a little bit about how to take these doors apart and put them together. I had to do a little more work than I anticipated, because like I said, I had to replace that fur strip across the top there, and that was a little bit of extra work and a little bit of extra cost that I really didn't plan on. But in the end, I'm happy with the repair. Everything's working fine, and so let's check it out and get that process started. Just wanted to review with you that when you pull this off, there's these little clips in here, and they hold it on, so they go up underneath here and clip. And I have the new one here, and you can see on the new one how these clips are. So I'll have to get up there and figure out how to get this in there, but that's where the clips go. So all those clips that stayed on are going to have to come off, and then this one put in its place. So that's what I'll be up to next. Alright, got the trim in. It was a matter of figuring out the orientation right, and then tipping the back here back towards me, getting the little metal tabs to go in their holes, and then rotating it forward so that this little flap right here that goes over the top of the door sits over the top like that. And then come back. The kit comes with rivets, 3 rivets, so you put the rivets in there, one behind here, one behind here, and get the rivets in place. Of course, you'll have to move the weather stripping and everything, so that's a little bit of a pain. Of course, everything's a lot of a pain to do this. Hopefully you won't need to do that step. I had to do it because I told you that I screwed mine up by trying to get the regulator out there instead of here, which this is the first car I've ever had that has had this part of the door come loose. So the next step is my wife's getting the glass cleaned up, and we'll be putting that in next, which is what this piece is right here. There's a rod that runs inside the door, and it's connected to the top and the bottom. It's connected right up here. So there's one mount where it sits, and that is the whole problem. Probably the window regulator was okay, but because of this piece of plastic here that was laying down broken inside the car, the whole thing didn't work. So what happens is this piece here goes through the glass, it'll be sticking out like this, and then that piece there will ride inside there, up and down there, to keeping that glass from going up and down. And since that piece broke, the window was going dipping forward, then dipping backwards, and causing the whole problem. But the motor on the regulator and everything on the regulator looked good, but anytime I've seen it happen in the past, it's always been a problem with the regulator. But this time it was that plastic piece, which costs about 16 bucks. So yeah, it costs just about as much to ship it as it costs to buy it. So that's great. Anyways, we're getting ready to put the glass in. The glass will have to go in with that piece on it. Well, no, the glass will go in first, then I got to try to get that piece on it, and then once that's in there, then we'll put the regulator into its spot here, and hopefully be able to hook the two together. So that's what's on the plate for next. All right, got the glass in there, and now hopefully you can see down in here where my hand is, this plastic rod, or this rod here, this metal rod here, this plastic piece, and behind it is one of these little circle things, like similar to that, except it doesn't have a stud through it. There's a bolt that holds this plastic on, so it's on there, and that keeps the glass from, like I said, going side to side. Now the whole thing is to get the window regulator in. Key thing to note here is when you're putting that glass in, tip the glass down here towards the front, get that front going in without that any of that stuff I just showed you on there. And then when you're bringing it back in, there's a cutout right here. That's for those little nubs down here. They're going to have to go through here. So they're both going to slide through here on the way down, and that one in the middle is going to go here. So I mean, it's not the most intuitive, but if you play with it for a little bit, you should be able to get it in there. So that is that. So now it's on to the window regulator over here, which, you know, is its own special kind of treat. But just to give you an idea of how this sits in here. Oh, jeez. Okay. All right. Those two nuts that we looked at that come through the back hole here, my screen won't stay on, attach right here and right here. The center one goes here, and the one that's on the front has no adjustment or no point to go on here. So everything's going to attach to this silver bar here. Like I said, the one that's in the middle, the one that goes in the middle of the glass is there. The two in the back go into these holes here. Those square holes there, and then the whole thing slides up and down that rail right there. This mounts at the bottom of the door, that mount up there, and this mounts at the top up here. So those holes are right here. Here's the top holes that mounts in, and then there's ones down there that mount. So that is the way that it fits in there. So let me get that piece in there now. Now this is approximately how I have the window set up now. I have the window in there. If you can see these two bolt holes, so that's this one and this one and this one down here are the three that hold the window on, and then you have this front one, which hopefully you might be able to see, this clip right here That's the fourth connection point, but it actually doesn't bolt to the frame. It's just there to stabilize the front end of the window. So the window is going up and down now, and from what I can tell, it is in there correctly. Now it's hitting against this thing here. The reason I believe is that this piece here, I had to loosen it up here, and it bolts through over here. So it's a little bit loose there because I loosened this up, and I believe it fits right in up there against that. So that's why it's jiggling around a little bit, but everything is in there and holding. And I think I went over before, you know, I put the new felt on the outside. I have the window regulator in there. It is all bolted up on the tops and the bottom. So it looks like it's ready to have the rest of the internals put back on and secured in there. But it is working, and I want to get it buttoned up a little bit more, make sure I get, you know, these things all taken care of, the main bolts in there, and then double check the window fit on the door to make sure that it's closing properly. I preliminarily checked it and it looked okay, so I just want to get a little more of it buttoned up so I'm able to open and close the door a little bit easier, and then we'll circle back and double check. And I wanted to go over with you the bolt positions for the window here. Let me just lower the window a little bit. Okay. Let's see if I can get this back a little bit. All right, let me lower it a little more so we can see. All right, so basically you're going to spend some time after we got this window regulator in there playing with where it sits in the bracket in the window regulator. You can see there's two big square openings that were here, both on the top and on the bottom, and there is two screws sitting in there, and you're going to use them to adjust how far up and down, back and forth the window sits, along with this one that is right down here. And I know this metal piece is in the way too, but that piece is right here, or that screw is right there. And then of course you have the front plastic clip there holding on the front of the window to keep it from dipping up and down. So those, really don't have to worry about that front one. It's just this middle one here and these two sitting back here you'll be fiddling with to get this window sitting in there the right way. So for my car, it's sitting about in that position right there, and that position up there. So the window is going up and down. It seems to be doing fine. The only thing it's catching on is this piece right here. I'm not sure exactly what the heck that's supposed to be doing, but I think it may be a stop because of the way it has an adjustment here, and it looks like it might interact with this down here. So I'm gonna guess that's the window stop. And the way that works is, of course, there's a screw up here that's holding it, and then it bolts through this bolt, nut and bolt through there. So I'll give that the final adjustment when I get to it, but that appears with that to be. Everything else seems fairly straightforward. I mean, the window locking mechanism is a pain in the ass. I've got to stick this hook back in here again to open the door. The bottom one is for the lock. That's got to be hooked back up again. But outside of that, you shouldn't have too many problems. I think I'm in the home stretch now of putting this back together. So let me get a little more done and then I'll bring you back. Right, I've got everything sort of buttoned up here. Some things are just hanging here, but I wanted to go over what's important. The window was in there right, so the previous settings that I showed you were the way that it should be. This is, in fact, these two bolts here are in fact the height adjustment, so that determines how far the window is going to go up. So you're gonna have to play around with it to get it to whatever your settings are. But mine are set pretty close to the top. So it's letting that window go up pretty much all the way. So, you know, keep these loose until it's time, you know, until you get that window going up is where you want it. Tighten them down, double check that everything is where you need it. So on mine, that's where it's set at. All these bolts went back in, so there's a few bolts, probably about 7 or 8. I think I got a clip that is missing there, so I couldn't get that one in. The wiring's pretty much together. I got to pull this back off to finish putting it together to put the cover on, but the wiring's looks to be pretty decent. Yeah, so far so good. Like, I got the window adjusters in here. I think that's the only one I had. I don't know, it looks like it might have needed some. No, I guess not. These cutouts are where the glass drops down through, so they don't have a window bump there, but they definitely have one here. That one is pretty close to the glass. Everything else is working. Yeah, I can't put the window up and down right now just because you got to have the console on here to do that, or the window or the door piece, and I don't have it on here right now so that you can see this, because if I plug that in, it'll be right up against the door here and you won't be able to see anything. So this is the way it looks. We'll take a look at its final opening and closing when I'm done, but this is the way that it should button up for you, and hopefully I've covered all the settings for you on what you have to do to get that in there. Okay, be back when it's snapped together. All right, let's test it, see if the window goes up and down. Go up. All right, the window's working. The door panel is on. You know, it's not the I heard something rattling there. It's probably something with the door panel. But other than that, I mean, these cars, I never felt like they had solid interiors in them, but at least the doors, latch is working, the power locks are working. So, you know, for the age of the car, I'd say it's doing pretty good. So remember to like, comment, and subscribe. See you until next time. Ciao.